Welcome to 12-Minute Talks, where important information is shared in a short time period. Learn from other business owners, entrepreneurs, and experts about what they do to help you find solutions to everyday topics in 12 minutes or less. Welcome to another episode of the 12-Minute Talks podcast. I'm excited to have with us today the founder of Entrepreneurs on Fire, Lee Dumas, or JLD. John, thank you so much for being on today.
Lorena, thank you so much for having me. I am fired up to make the most of these 12 minutes.
Awesome. I'm excited to hear that. Coincidentally, yours was one of the first podcasts that I listened to a few years ago. And I thought it was interesting how you interviewed other business owners about what they do and what they're passionate about.
My journey is, I grew up in a small town in Maine, went to college on an Army scholarship. So post-college, I spent 8 years as an Army officer and learned a lot of life lessons during that 8 years service that I had there. And after that, tried a bunch of things. It was like time for a career. So I went to law school, dropped out, corporate finance, quit after a year. Real estate just wasn't my thing. And then finally, as I was trying to educate myself through reading books, listening to podcasts, I said, where's the daily podcast that's interviewing successful entrepreneurs so that every single day I can be inspired by an actual successful entrepreneur that right now is doing it in this world? And the show did not exist, Lorena. So I said, you know what? Gosh darn it. I'm going to create that show. I'm going to be the change I want to see in the world, quoting Gandhi. And 8 years ago, I launched Entrepreneurs on Fire. And as we're speaking now, I've released over 2,600 episodes, and it's been quite the journey. Over 1 million listens every single month, over 90 million listens total. And it's been a journey where I've been able to interview incredibly successful entrepreneurs and build a 7-figure-a-year business doing it.
That's fantastic. And it's great to see somebody that has tried different paths in life until finding something they're really passionate about and that creates revenue, which, I always say it's good to have something you enjoy doing, but also that you make money, because we all need to put food on the table at the end of the day, right? And so how long did it take before you actually started monetizing your podcast, and what were some of those initial steps that you took?
It was about 13 months. I really didn't make much money at all over the first 13 months, like a little bit here through one-on-one coaching, a little bit here through a couple sponsorships here and there. But it wasn't really until month 13 that I hit that switch and really started generating significant revenue. And since then, we've actually been generating over $100,000 every single month for 83 months in a row. And we actually publish our income reports that we have now every single month at eofire.com/income, where we show you how every dollar is made, every expense that we incur. We show it all. We have our lawyer come on for a legal tip, our CPA come on for a tax tip. Like, it's a very valuable income report for sure. And I would say the biggest revenue streams that we started to make the big bucks on would be sponsorships, courses, affiliates. Those would be the big ones. And those are things that, we still actually generate a lot of our revenue today with.
Fantastic. So different sources of income, which is very important, to have. So I looked at some of those income reports while doing some research on what to ask you. And I noticed a trend. I studied finance. That was my degree. And I noticed, your gross revenue is really good, but more importantly is your net income that I see is good. So that means you don't have a lot of expenses. How are you able to do that?
That's one of my biggest focuses, is keeping our net profits as high as possible. In fact, we share the percentage every month on what our net profit to gross income is, gross revenue is. And I like to keep it above 70%, which is amazingly high. I mean, many months we have it over 80%, and 1 month we actually had it over 90%. That was just 1 month though.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely the focus, and that's what you have to do if you want it to be that case. Otherwise, expenses are just going to really, creep up on you. So, we audit all of our recurring monthly expenses every single month, which of course this income report helps us do. We audit, how our team looks, the advertising budget that we have. So we are really just continuously keeping our finger on the pulse. And whenever we're not seeing great return on investment, ROI, we're dropping that thing. So it's not going to keep bogging us down. And because of that, we're able to remain very lean, very profitable. And that's the big focus, because I live here in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
We only pay 4% tax, no state, no federal. So I don't need to jack up all my business costs like everybody else has to, because they're going to spend it in taxes anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I actually get to keep the money that I make. So I keep my finger on that pulse.
That's great. That's great. And smart. Yeah. Moving to Puerto Rico, for that. I'm actually in Miami. We're a few miles away, I guess.
Yeah. About 1,200 actually.
But yeah, so that's great. And I always think it's great to know your numbers, because how else are you going to know if you're in the right path, or what you need to.
So true. I think it's a quote by Peter Drucker is, what gets measured gets improved. And you just have to be measuring the things that you want to be improved. I mean, our team right now, it's 3 full-time virtual assistants and myself and Kate, and we're running a 7-figure a year business.
That's awesome. I think that's a lot of people's dreams out there, and you're definitely a good role model to have.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And so, John, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's something that you help other entrepreneurs solve?
I'd say the biggest thing that I help entrepreneurs solve is, what does that starting point look like for you? Because everybody needs to have a different starting point. Everybody needs to have their own, what I call, big idea. So many people fail in the entrepreneurial world because they just say oh, look at what Lorraine is doing, her 12-minute episodes, she's successful, I'm going to copy her. Or let me look at what John's doing or this person's doing. And they just become these weak, pale, watered down imitations of everybody else, and they fail. You need to sit down and come up with your one big idea. And it's your idea that's solving a specific problem or pain point that's not currently being solved in the world, so you can serve an underserved market. That's where you actually have a chance. So I actually created a completely free course I'd be happy to share with your audience. It's called yourbigidea.io. And it's a 60-minute course that will get you to your big idea. And that's the key. Just come up with your big idea and start there. And that's really what I try to focus on, is getting people to the right starting block. Because anybody can start, but when you're starting to run the wrong race, or you're going 1,000,000 miles an hour in the wrong direction, that's what's going to happen. You're going to end up 1,000,000 miles in the wrong direction.
Yeah, definitely. And also, a lot of times I think people give up too quick, right? They don't have persistency, or they don't see the results that they think.
I don't know if they give up too quick because they've chosen the wrong thing to start. So I actually like when people give up when they started the wrong thing, because they didn't come up with their big idea. So
yeah,
you should feel really excited and good about quitting something when you're listening to this conversation right here, and you're like, man, that's why I'm not having success, because I'm just trying to be a weak imitation or watered down copy of somebody else. I need to go back to the drawing board and actually identify my big idea. So quit whatever that is. Stop wasting your time. That's why you have so many miserable lawyers and doctors out there, because they started law school or med school, hated it, realize they never want to do it, but they're stuck because they paid $30,000 so far in tuition fees, and they just live a miserable life as a result. That doesn't have to be your world.
Of course. Yeah, it's definitely, at the end of the day, figuring out what it is that you want in your life and how you want to approach that.
But then once you have your big idea, then you got to be persistent, patient, tenacity. Then you can't quit. Then the only way you're going to fail is when you quit.
Agree. Well, John, it's been great having you on the 12-Minute Talks podcast. And I do have one last question for you. What would you say is the last good book that you read?
The last good book that I read was Why We Sleep. I just finished it a couple days ago. I loved it. And sleep is becoming a big passion of mine. I really feel like it's one really under focused on area of most people's lives.
Okay, that's a great recommendation. And like always, I'll post all of the links down below so that everyone listening or watching the video can easily follow John on social media, his podcast, as well as the book recommendation as well. And yeah, is there anything else you would like to add?
That's it. You can just find out more about me at eofire.com. And my podcast is Entrepreneurs on Fire. I love new listeners.
Awesome. And I just wanted to quickly introduce myself for those of you that don't know who I am. My name's Lorena Tomasini, and I'm the owner of Mom Life and Health Insurance Agency, where together with my mom, we help families and business owners with their financial protection needs, all done digitally. Thank you for listening to this podcast and hope you will listen to the next one. I'm Lorena Tomasini, and you can contact me via email life@malmins.com. Make it a great day.